The Department of Justice released more than 3 million pages of files related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation on Friday. The new files mention President Trump hundreds of times, along with former President Bill Clinton, Elon Musk, and more.
Power rarely collapses in one moment. It erodes slowly through leaks, court filings, footnotes, and names that surface years after the damage is done. The Epstein case is not a scandal that ended. It is a shadow that keeps moving. Every time new documents appear, the same question returns. Who knew, who benefited, and who escaped accountability? Now, as another wave of Epstein-related material circulates publicly, attention has shifted again, unexpectedly, uncomfortably, back toward one of the most powerful figures in modern politics. Not because of a new charge, not because of a conviction, but because of proximity, history, and unresolved contradictions that refuse to disappear.
It should be ripped down. It should be burned to the ground.
This story is not about guilt being declared. It is about why the spotlight keeps returning to the same place, even after years of denials, investigations, and political storms. To understand why this matters now, you have to understand what the Epstein Files actually are, and what they are not. The term does not refer to a single document or revelation. It describes a growing body of court filings, unsealed records, depositions, flight logs, emails, and testimony tied to Jeffrey Epstein, a financier who cultivated extraordinary access to politicians, royalty, billionaires, academics, and intelligence-linked circles before dying in federal custody in 2019. Many of these documents have existed for years. What changes is access. As civil cases progress and courts order materials unsealed, names that were once redacted or buried resurface in public view. Importantly, appearing in a document does not mean criminal conduct. Courts have been explicit about this, but public perception does not operate on legal nuance. It operates on association. And association is why the story never ends. Over the past year, renewed attention has focused on the sheer scale of Epstein's social reach. The files show a man who was not operating on the margins of elite society, but inside it. He hosted, funded, transported, and connected people who shaped policy, finance, media, and geopolitics. That reality has forced an uncomfortable reckoning. If Epstein was able to abuse minors for years, across borders, under the eyes of institutions designed to prevent exactly that, then failure was not individual. It was systemic. That is the context in which Donald Trump's name re-entered the conversation. Trump's connection to Epstein is not new. It has been public record for decades. The two moved in overlapping social circles in the 1990s and early 2000s, particularly in New York and Palm Beach. Trump has acknowledged knowing Epstein socially, as did many figures who later distanced themselves once Epstein's crimes became undeniable. What reignited attention was not a fresh allegation. It was contrast. When Epstein was first arrested in 2006 and again in 2019, Trump positioned himself as having cut ties years earlier. He stated publicly that he was not a fan of Epstein and claimed to have banned him from Mar-a-Lago. That statement has been disputed by some accounts and supported by others. No definitive record has settled it conclusively, but politics does not wait for definitive closure. As Trump returned to the center of American political life, journalists and critics revisited old questions with new urgency. Not because Trump was uniquely tied to Epstein, but because he is now one of the few figures with both historical proximity and current power. That combination is rare. In unsealed documents, Trump appears in the same category as dozens of other high-profile individuals, named as part of Epstein's social world, not accused in court filings, and not charged with crimes related to Epstein. Multiple investigations, including federal inquiries, have not resulted in criminal findings against him in this context. Yet the public reaction has been anything but calm. Why? Because Epstein represents a failure of accountability that people still feel was never resolved. His death eliminated the possibility of a full criminal trial. His plea deal in 2008, widely criticized as lenient, created the impression that wealth can buy silence, and many of those who interacted with him walked away without consequence. In that vacuum, suspicion thrives. Trump's critics argue that his past comments, photographs, and social overlap justify scrutiny. Supporters counter that he cooperated with investigators, severed ties early, and was never implicated in wrongdoing. Both positions exist simultaneously, and neither has erased the other. That unresolved tension is the fuel. Adding to the controversy is Trump's long-running narrative about corruption, elites, and deep state protection. For years, he has accused institutions of shielding powerful offenders while punishing outsiders. Epstein's case is often cited by Trump supporters as proof that such protection exists. But that framing cuts both ways. If Epstein was protected, the question becomes, By whom? And if protection was systemic, no individual, regardless of political alignment, can be fully insulated from suspicion. That is why Trump's return to prominence reactivates the conversation, not because of evidence uncovered against him, but because Epstein remains the ultimate symbol of elite impunity, and Trump is now one of the most visible elites alive. The media environment amplifies this dynamic. In a fragmented information ecosystem, nuance disappears. Headlines blur association with implication. Social media recycles old photos without context. Clips from decades ago are replayed as if they are new revelations. Algorithms reward outrage, not accuracy. This creates a cycle where clarification never fully lands. Legal experts have repeatedly emphasized that the Epstein documents should be read carefully. Many names appear in testimony where accusers explicitly state they did not experience abuse by certain individuals. Other mentions are secondhand or contextual. Courts have warned against interpreting presence as proof. Yet the emotional weight of Epstein's crimes overwhelms those distinctions. And that is why the story remains radioactive. Trump's political enemies benefit from association by implication. His supporters interpret renewed focus as politically motivated distraction. Journalists walk a tightrope between reporting and speculation, and victims continue to watch a system that still feels incomplete. What is often lost is the broader lesson. Epstein was not powerful because he was brilliant. He was powerful because institutions failed repeatedly. Financial regulators missed red flags. Prosecutors chose deals over trials. Media outlets ignored rumors until they became undeniable. Social circles normalized access without accountability. That ecosystem allowed abuse to persist. Whether Trump or any other named individual bears responsibility beyond association is a legal question. And so far, the law has answered that question with silence rather than conviction. But the moral question, how such access was possible at all, remains unanswered. And it is that unresolved moral failure that keeps pulling attention back to anyone who stood near Epstein's orbit, especially those who still hold power. As long as Epstein's network remains only partially mapped, and as long as consequences appear uneven, the spotlight will keep circling. It will not settle. It will not conclude. It will move from name to name, era to era, election to election. Not because the public wants scandal, but because it wants closure. And until that closure exists, every resurfacing document will feel like a new exposure. Every familiar name like a reopened wound. That is why Trump is back in the conversation. Not as a verdict, not as proof, but as a reminder that Epstein was never just one man, and the system that enabled him has never been fully confronted. If you want to keep following how power, accountability, and unfinished scandals collide in real time, stay with us. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the discussion below, because the truth doesn't disappear just because time passes.